Step onto any range in America, and you'll hear it before you see it, the slow, confident click of a cylinder locking into place. That sound is the heartbeat of a firearm design that has outlived empires, wars, and entire generations of shooters. The revolver is not just another sidearm. It's a piece of living history that still stands tall in a world obsessed with polymer frames and double-stacked magazines. I've always said, there's a certain honesty about a wheel gun. No slide slamming, no magazines fumbling, no complicated levers or safeties to memorize. You load the cylinder, you close it, and you're holding a machine that is ready to work when everything else might choke. That simplicity is what makes the revolver a trusted companion for shooters who care about reliability more than hype. Think about it. Semi-automatics rely on grip strength, slide manipulation, and magazines that have to seat just right. A revolver doesn't care. Pull the trigger or cock the hammer, and the gun does what it was built to do. That's why so many instructors, especially those teaching people with limited hand strength or injuries, still lean on revolvers as a go-to tool. It's universal. It works for the teenager taking their first lesson and for the 70-year-old who still wants a dependable piece on the nightstand. Reliability, that's the word everyone circles back to. A semi-automatic malfunctions and you're running drills. Tap, rack, bang. A revolver misfires and you don't panic. You just pull again and the next chamber comes alive. That built-in redundancy, that refusal to quit, is why generations of law enforcement trusted them as their lifeline before the high-capacity craze took over. Even today, that trust hasn't faded. It's still there, carved into the culture of American firearms. Now, don't fall into the trap of picturing nothing but dusty six-shooters from cowboy movies. The revolver evolved, and it evolved hard. Stainless steel frames, lightweight alloys, custom grips that melt into your hand, and sights that rival modern semi-autos. It's all part of the modern wheel gun scene. Manufacturers aren't clinging to nostalgia. They're innovating to make revolvers viable for concealed carry in the 21st century. The demand proves it. Reports from industry giants like the National Shooting Sports Foundation show revolvers still own a steady chunk of handgun sales. Every year at SHOT Show, new models draw crowds like magnets. Collectors swarm the classics while new shooters line up to handle compact carry revolvers that weigh less than a cell phone but hit like a hammer. That balance between old school roots and new age innovation is what keeps the revolver alive in both the marketplace and the culture. What fascinates me most is how revolvers connect generations. Some shooters step up to the firing line with their grandfather's revolver, the blued steel worn smooth from decades of use. Others buy their very first handgun and walk away with a snub nose, convinced by the simplicity. Both groups feel the same thing: confidence. There's something about the solid, mechanical click of a cylinder that reassures you the gun will do its job. That's a kind of trust you can't fake. And then there's the money side. Revolvers aren't bargain bin cast-offs anymore. Prices climb, collectors pay premiums, and even everyday production, revolvers hold their value better than many semi-autos. You can buy one today, shoot it for years, and still pass it down as an heirloom worth real money. Compare that to a polymer pistol that loses resale value the minute it leaves the shop, and the revolver's investment appeal becomes crystal clear. But here's where the story takes a wild turn. For years, people said revolvers were dead, just relics for old-timers. But today, the exact opposite is happening. Sales are climbing, new shooters are flocking, and the wheel gun is having one of the most unlikely comebacks in modern firearms culture. Why is this happening now? What makes younger buyers who grew up in a world of high-capacity pistols and tactical accessories suddenly gravitate toward a design that traces back over 150 years? Why now? That's the question nudging every conversation at the range. The answer is not a single flash of insight. It's 1,000 small shifts stacking until the wheel gun becomes irresistible again. First, the cultural appetite for authenticity is real. People are tired of disposable tech. They want things that tick, that click, that have tangible mechanics under the skin. A revolver gives you that in a way a molded polymer never will. It's honest craftsmanship you can hear with each cock of the hammer. Next, training philosophy has swung back toward fundamentals. After a decade of rapid modernization and magazine-stuffed bravado, instructors are reminding students that defensive shooting starts with mental clarity and mechanical reliability. When you teach someone to make every shot count, a revolver's strength becomes obvious. It forces disciplined trigger press and positional control because every round matters. That discipline translates into confidence. Confidence sells. Economic realities play their part too. In a market where some mass-produced pistols are churned out by the thousands, certain revolvers retain value because of metallurgy and machine work. Buyers who view a firearm as an heirloom rather than a throwaway accessory look at a well-built wheel gun and see long-term worth. That mindset changes purchasing behavior. It turns casual curiosity into real ownership. Then there's the media effect. Revolvers sit on screens with a certain cinematic authority. They read in silhouette. Gamers grow used to the look. Filmmakers shoot them in slow motion. That imagery seeps into living rooms and sparks curiosity. Younger shooters who grew up on those visuals come to the range wanting to feel the mechanical poetry for themselves. The visual language is part nostalgia, part rebellion against sleek anonymity. Practicality is another driver. Not everyone needs a high-capacity pistol for their life. For many, especially those living in quieter towns or families with a multi-generational firearms tradition, the revolver is both sufficient and sensible. A compact wheel gun, chambered in .357 Magnum or in less punishing calibers, offers adequate stopping power without a steep learning curve. For concealed carry, a properly fitted J-frame 642 or a stripped-down 5-shot snub can be less intimidating to new carriers. And because maintenance is straightforward, older shooters and caretakers appreciate the low fuss. Manufacturers notice this. They did not chase trends blindly. They retooled lines, relearned old jigs, and invested in machining tolerances that honor heritage while improving ergonomics. When a legacy brand brings back a beloved model with modern metallurgy and crisp triggers, the market responds. Those reissues aren't sentimental vanity projects, they're answers to real, measurable demand. But the revolution is not without friction. Critics point to limited capacity and slower reloads. That's true. The wheel gun asks you to accept trade-offs. It asks you to shoot on purpose. In certain scenarios, that trade-off is unacceptable. In others, it's the smartest concession you can make. The key is context. The gun must match the mission. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a firearm that bridges culture and utility, where history informs design and modern needs demand reliability. It leaves us standing at a firing line where new shooters and veterans exchange nods over blued steel and stainless frames. It leaves an industry that is listening and adapting. And it leaves one burning question. When tradition and technology meet, which side wins? When a life is on the line. When a life is on the line, the answer isn't an argument for nostalgia or a sermon for cutting-edge hardware. It's a brutal appraisal of mission, mindset, and preparation. The revolver doesn't win because it's romantic. The semi-automatic doesn't win because it has more rounds. The winner is the system you build around the tool, the training, the legal understanding, the practice under pressure, and the willingness to accept the trade-offs when seconds count. Start with the reality of common defensive scenarios. Most defensive shootings in the US, the ones that don't make viral headlines, unfold in tight, chaotic windows measured in heartbeats. Threats escalate fast. Under that stress, complexity kills. A revolver's mechanical predictability can be the stabilizing factor somebody needs when fine motor skills fail and every breath screams loud. That's not to romanticize it. It's to recognize that mechanical simplicity is an actual lifesaver when hands tremble and time evaporates. But simplicity has a price. Capacity and reload speed are real constraints. If you expect to face multiple armed attackers or sustain threats, stacking rounds matters. That's why operational context is king. For a lone caregiver, a homeowner facing an intruder, or a hiker miles from help, the calm, Refusal to jam, character of a wheel gun, can be smarter than a high-capacity pistol that needs constant maintenance and flawless magazines. For a security professional on the night shift or a team operator, a magazine-fed platform's higher shot count and faster reloads are operational necessities. Match the gun to the mission. Training flips theoretical debates into practical certainty. Drill every conceivable malfunction. If you carry a revolver, practice deliberate, accurate shots and fast. Practice reloads with speed loaders or moon clips until the motions are reflexive. If you carry a semi-automatic, master your malfunction clearance under stress until tap, rack, and assess is as automatic as breathing. The tool amplifies of your training. Poor training ruins any advantage a design might confer. Then there's the legal and medical aftermath. The choices you make before conflict, the caliber you trust, the hollow point availability in your jurisdiction, your knowledge of self-defense law and duty to retreat rules, and whether you've recorded your carry in a power of attorney or told loved ones all shape the long road after a defensive event. Organizations like USCCA emphasize that winning the legal fight often depends on documentation, training, and the reasonableness of your actions, not which slide cycled or which cylinder spun. Look at industry momentum and you'll see manufacturers hedging both bets. Refined wheel guns with modern triggers, optics-ready revolvers, and chassis upgrades. And semi-automatics that borrow revolver lessons about reliability and ergonomics. The cross-pollination proves the point: neither design lives in a vacuum. Innovation comes from necessity and lessons learned on ranges and in courtrooms. So what should you do tomorrow? First, be honest about the people you protect and the environments you move through. Second, pick the tool you will train the most with, not the one that simply looks tougher in a thumbnail. Third, practice scenarios that break your ego. Low light, weekend only, failure drills, reloads, and the paperwork that follows. Skill built in rehearsal is what turns a mechanical choice into survival. In the end, the revolver's comeback is not a fad. It's a mirror reflecting a deeper demand. People want equipment that behaves predictably when everything else falls apart. But predictable behavior alone doesn't guarantee survival. It must be married to relentless training, a sober legal strategy, and the humility to know when the tool in your hand is the right one for the moment. Which brings us back to a truth every shooter must decide for themselves. Will you chase capacity and complexity, or will you choose simplicity and certainty, and are you prepared to live with the consequences of that choice?